I'm Tim Hodge, and today we're going to draw Kevin. You ready? Grab a piece of paper and a nice pencil you like to draw with. And before we start, I'd like to lay everything out, because you hate to start drawing a character and then get to the bottom of the page and you realize you haven't left enough room. So we're going to draw Kevin's overall body shape first. Now Kevin looks like a giant pear, actually. I'm going to draw a little circle here for his head, where his head's going to be. And then almost down to the bottom of the page for the rest of his body. Again, it looks like a long, stretched pear or an upside-down light bulb. And his feet are going to be right about there. I'm not going to put those in yet, but just a light line. Let's start on his face. Now, I'm not going to draw him looking straight ahead. He's going to be a little bit of an angle. And Kevin's got this, he wears that headpiece like a cowl. There's like spacemen wear, the astronauts wear under their helmet. So he's got this little hole in it where his face pops out. And see how I've come over to the edge here and not over on this side, because his head's turned just a little bit. Let's draw a center line down the middle of his head, like the lines on a basketball. So they curves on around. And Kevin's got these huge, like big ping pong ball eyes. And one's a little bit bigger than the other, just because it's a little closer to us. Now his eyes never quite look in the same direction, well, most of the time. So let's draw one pupil right down there, and the other one kind of looking up this way. Kind of makes him look silly, doesn't it? Now leave a little space in there, like a little highlight in his eye. Now his beak, draw like an upside down V here. It's kind of curved, it's not real pointy. And then another just a V shape underneath. It's like a diamond there. And then for where the two halves of his beak meet, bring it right there. I have the point off to the side here, because again, he's pointing kind of towards me. And if you curve these lines just a little bit, not straight lines, just a little bit of a curve, kind of gives him a little smile like he has. Okay? Let's go ahead and darken this line around his face where his face pokes out of his headpiece there. And you can even color in the black part of his face, right underneath his eye. Now right underneath his eye, down to his beak, is got the white part of his penguin body. Not the only part of the penguin body we see. Everything else is covered up. Okay. Now on the sides of his head, he's got those big earpieces. If you've ever seen any of the astronaut footage, they've got those too. I don't know exactly what those are, but he's got these two big shapes here. Now this one we'll see all of. And again, make it kind of an oval shape. And I put another little line in there to show the edge. And this one we don't see much of. So just a little, just the edge of it there, you see that? There. Right about in here, he has that big collar. We're gonna, this big circle shape, but of course we don't see it as a circle, it's tilted so it's an oval. And the rim of it looks like that. And make sure you get those edges of it curved. Don't make little corners over here. Don't make this part pointy, because if you do that, it doesn't look quite as round. You got the edges of his collar that come down and meet his chest. I don't know what this is for. I think it should catch the crumbs while he's eating, so he doesn't spill anything on his stomach. I'm sure Kevin eats a lot. Also, he's got this seam that runs right down the middle of his chin. So just a light little line there. Yeah. Okay, and on his chest, he's got the big chest piece. Each of the penguins has this on their uniform. Like a big U shape. Again, you see why I'm drawing light, because my early lines went a little bit off. And I thought, no, I need to make it a little bit shorter. And in the middle of that is where this letter K is, so you can remember which one he is. So draw an oval, a little bit sideways, and I'm not putting it in the middle, again, because he's standing a little bit turned, so it's off to the side. And then the K right there. It's got pointy parts to it. It's like this one wedge shape, straight on the top, and then everything else is pointy. And then you can draw the circle inside the circle there. Now let's work on his arms. Now, he has some shoulder pieces, little shoulder pads that come off, epaulets. So like a little straight line and a curved line. It's not quite straight. Straight lines tend to be kind of boring and mechanical, so you can notice this has just the slightest amount of curve to it. And his arm is very thick on the top, and then comes down much thinner where his hands are. So you can make the upper part of his arm really beefy and roundish. And don't make his elbows too pointy. I almost did that there. And give him a little bit of overlap here. See how his forearm tucks in behind there? Just that little line in there lets you know that where the arm is bent and this part is in front of that part. And I always start his hands with a light circle, and then I draw his fingers. And Kevin's got flippers. All the penguins have flippers, like just 2 fingers and a thumb. Even though real penguins just have just 1 flipper. We kind of compromise in between there. His fingers aren't really pointy, and they're not really rounded off either. Somewhere in the middle, like that. And then draw a curved line right here to show where his glove ends up. Down this side. Now his other arm, I'm going to draw a little bit higher. So how this shoulder piece goes down just a little bit, this one's going to come up. And again, his arm starts off real thick and gets thinner as it goes up. See that? And not too pointy on his elbow. He's got a lot of flesh on there. Put his hand up here. Now this hand, we saw the back of his hand, and this hand we see the front, his palm right there. So his thumb will be coming in this way. Again, not too pointed, not too round. And hands are very hard to draw, so take your time with it. If you need to freeze frame the DVD to catch up, that's fine. But make his palm just in that circle area, and then you can draw his fingers off from that. See that? Pretty easy. And you can draw that little line right here where his thumb comes off. And notice how this side of his hand is almost a straight line from his pinky down to his wrist. That doesn't stick out a whole lot like a lollipop or something. It's almost a straight line. You can see where his wrist forms right there. And of course, draw where his glove would have it. There. And if you want to, put some motion lines around there like he's waving to you, saying, hello. Okay. Now there's not a lot of detail left. We've gotten finished with most of the hard parts. And Kevin's belt wears pretty high. Makes him look cute that way. Keeps his belly real big. So let's draw this curved line around his waist, very high waist. And another one just underneath it. And the center of his body comes this way. Like I've been saying, his body's turned. So his belt buckle, there's 2 straight lines off here. There. And see how on this side of his body I've made the curve just a little bit backwards? Gives him more of a nice bent feel because he walks with his rear sticking out just a little bit. That makes that kind of, okay, now this gets to the tricky part where his legs come right off his body. This nice round shape, and then come back the other way. We curve back here. Don't go all the way down to the line. And his foot comes right off that. We've got 2 toes, one you barely see any of right there. And come up off his heel, and just meet the bottom of this pear shape, and come around to where his other leg's going to be. His suit, the leg, his pant leg comes down not quite halfway in his leg. And again, make that a curved line, and there's this little dot on his ankle, just like that, kind of like a Converse shoe, but not really. And then he wears these white little spats, these foot coverings, so we'll let his toes peek out and draw a curved line right there. And again, the same thing on the other side. And I'm going to make this foot go below that line a little bit, just so it looks like he's pointing toward us a little bit. It's going to make it a little bit trickier to draw because we're going to see more of that back toe. See, make sure his feet are the same size. And put that little spat covering in there. A little dot on his ankle, and curve right back up into his body there. And then that's where his pant leg stops. And darken in this line here. I'm sure where his belly's going to be. And that is Kevin. Now feel free to take your drawing and color him in if you want. You can do a freeze frame on the DVD and match the colors just so, or find any other pose you want to do. He doesn't just have to be standing waving. You can have him do anything you want. So we'll see you next time. Hope you had fun.